We look at the young kids with long hair and weirdy looking clothes, and establishment looks at them and we say, well, they don't fit in. But I think young people are trying to give a message to the elders. They're trying to say, it doesn't matter what you look like or what you wear, you are a person. They're doing it, but they're not saying it to the elders. If young people had enough courage of their convictions to speak up to their elders and tell them what was going on in their own minds, they would be able to say this. But they don't say it. They do everything but.
Well, you're crediting young people too much, I think. You're generalizing, and there's a danger. There's a lot of young kids that don't have the ability to even think, because so much of thinking of young people has been done by the establishment, by their parents, that they really got all kinds of mixed signals, and they are in a state of flux. Most young people are copying out. They're experimenting with various and sundry things.
Because they're mixed, they're in between.
Because they're really mixed, and that's why I have to come to the fore. I really do, because I can identify with a lot of their feelings, and yet I have the age behind me, I have the maturity behind me, the experiential behind me that says, hey, wait a minute, wait one fucking minute, and if you will, as it were, in essence. But I can come through the miasma because I got my shit together now.
There's something funny about tape recorders. The young kids are buying them like crazy, and they are using them to listen. Everybody seems to be listening. We seem to be all tuned in to what other people are saying, and we are being fed from television, from books, authority, expertise, qualified. And we're not really doing any self-reflecting, any self-criticism. And I think that that's what's happened to you and I. We have an honest feeling about ourselves, and we honestly wanted to know where we were in this world. And I think that that's why we were able to achieve this interaction. And doing it via the tape recorder is a whole new concept. We were doing it in our own minds before. But I think that if the young people who are buying tape recorders and using them to listen to superstars could listen to themselves instead.
And place themselves up there like superstars.
Yeah, right. We get traumatized by superstars of all kinds.
We get to where we are envious. Why can't we be like that when inside there may be something even much more fine?
I want to make a point about abortion right in here, because we have too many people. We keep making rules, we keep pressing more rules. One rule leads to another. Because there are so many people, we have to have some way to systematize and categorize people. And yet we have these right-to-lifers who are saying we cannot afford to kill off any fetus. It's a complete dichotomy, because we do have too many people. We're being bogged down by our own rules, and yet there are people who want to create more and more and more life.
There are the ones that are encouraging the life because it's good for business.
Right. Who's going to take the first step to stop it?
Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Hi, fool.
I'm not thinking system. I don't live system. I don't feel system.
You don't either? Boy, let me shake your hand at long last. I am desystematizing myself. It's like having a horrible germ. Okay. I'm the antidote for the system.
Okay, and so you consider yourself Maggie, doctor of preventative medicine.
Right. And one of my clients is getting a little nervous. My intimate client.
Which one? Joe.
He called up yesterday and he says, I'm going to eat dinner with Dad. I said, you know that I do plan for you to be at home. I said, I enjoy having a libation with you. I enjoy eating with you, even bacon and eggs. I said, this is the only time we get to... I was being very honest. In fact, I didn't even realize that I do anticipate his coming home. Can you imagine if that was all there was to my life, is waiting for him to come home?
I spent years like that. I couldn't take the kids, and I would wait for him to come home and relieve me, emotionally. How would you feel if, at this point in your life, you were completely into yourself, you understood yourself completely, and yet didn't have anybody around you that you really could fall back on at those times when you
I'd probably die.
So you do say that there's some benefit to having a partner. There is a someone that you can identify with. And the reason you've been able to identify with him all these years is because you did have a piece of paper between you that said you were legally married. If you hadn't been legally married, there probably would have been many times when you would have gone off. And he would have gone off. Is it the paper that held you together?
No, it was the churchy thing that held us together. It wasn't the paper. No, not the paper. It was the till death do you part. And then he was easy to live with, and I thought I could really make something out of it. I would have these grand and great kids. I would have done a good job, and all of society would have recognized what a fantastic wife and mother I was. Because remember that marriages were falling apart, and the reasons were varied and sundry, and one would say, well, because the minute the kids came, she stopped being a wife. Well, see, I was able to do both roles at the same time.
You were a manipulator.
Yeah, of course I was. And that was okay until I found out that being a manipulator was a bad thing to be, and then I felt guilty. See, I vacillated.
Do you think that most women are better at playing the mother role than the wife role?
I enjoyed the wife role better because I like rolling in the hay. Joe and I have a very good sexual lifestyle. But of course we talked about it. We knew what makes each other feel good. I was never bashful. I enjoyed little smiles, but I hated to have to buy clothes for the kids and coordinate the clothes, and everybody else had this and that. I just hated the hassle of dressing up the kids so that they looked like everybody else. When I didn't do it, I felt guilty.
All right, it's the guilt.
Yeah.
It's the guilt. There's less guilt in being a wife than there is in being a mother.
Yeah, because I don't have to tell Joe how to dress. The only thing that used to bother me, he would go to work, and I would say to myself, gee whiz, I should have ironed that shirt. They're going to say, what kind of a wife does that man have? And then, like a week later, I thought, what the hell's the difference? If he wants an iron shirt, he can iron his own damn shirt. It was like I had to be responsible for his appearance to make him look good to the company so that he could be successful. Did you see what happened? I was living vicariously. I had to maintain him so that he could go out and make the money so that we could eat.
So let me make a premise here then. Everything in this society then does boil down to money. Whoever wrote that line, money is the root of all evil, was the greatest philosopher.
Are you saying that money is the root of all evil?
Yes, because money got out of hand.
It got into the wrong hands?
Too much.
See, I have an arrangement with money. It's hello and goodbye.
That's right. Yeah.
See, I have no regard for money. No respect.
Wait. The female, the housewife, does not have buying power. Therefore, she does not have vying power. Okay? Not with her children.
She doesn't have buying power. No, it's the money that filters in that she has to be careful with. It's not her money.
Yeah.
She has vying power. Yeah, that's...
Who is that?
And do you see what would happen? You know, I'm happy when I can barter. So even if I were a dumb, stupid housewife and they still left me jollies like being able to go to the store and say, well, I'll pay you 10 cents for that. But gee, even that's frowned on. It's you know, you're not supposed to question.
You've been cut off from your spontaneity.
Right.
That's what you have been. When it was good old days in Chicago and Kansas, and it was resale shops and what can I do for you and what can you do for me, but life has become far more stringent, and the greatest scapegoat now is the housewife. We have, as a result of too many people and too many rules, placed ourselves in such a bind that everything, the reflection, the mirror, everything falls on the poor little housewife. And then suddenly her own society, her nuclear family gets up and walks away from her. And she's left with nothing but the rules that she was pushing all those years down the little kids'
Oh yeah,
faces.
that was really a mind-blowing experience though, when I realized that either way I was losing, because if they got up and walked away, I'd be alone. If they didn't get up and walk away, we'd suck each other, you know? And I thought, well, I've got to get a job. That's the only way I could respect myself.
What other jobs have you had?
Oh my God. Waitress, inspector on bearings during the war, payroll, general office, in a pharmaceutical company as wrapper and a boxer and a labeler. That was boring. It was supposed to be security. Every time I learned a job, I would get bored with it and leave. And I knew I wasn't going to be a success at anything.
So that's what's happened with wiping and momming too. You got bored with it. Moved on.
That's the job I held the longest though. And it wasn't that satisfactory, but it was challenging. If anybody can do it, I ought to be able to do it. I couldn't do it. I give up. I quit. AWIT, quit. Oh, I also did industrial nursing. And I really had a cushy job. And I think this is why I'm so disgruntled. I was making $350 a month 20 years ago. And I didn't have to work like a son of a bitch.
Well, I think women can identify with a lot of the things you've said. We can begin to see that the love for the children and doing all that demanding work, which is far greater work than any office-paying job, is done in the hope that when you grow old, somebody will be there.
Take care of you.
Okay, so it is a built-in social security system.
You know, I really hate that facet of it because it's such a drain on both sides. It makes robots out of us, and it keeps us from being spontaneous and loving with each other.
Yes, and it keeps us from having relationships with other people. We do become bound in by the familial relationship. You can't walk away from the family.
Well, it's
like
because the church got into the act on that and made it seem so special. For the sake of jollification, you have to sign the papers. Everybody's zeroing on the female.
The female has accepted the responsibility of having to care for the young.
No,
the male did not accept that responsibility.
It was laid on her because here she carried it 9 months, and you know, going back through that 9 months, I can see all this precious cargo, you know, and all this.
When men don't have that attachment to their end product, the thing that they spend their life producing does not affect them in the same way.
The automobile does.
Does it?
Oh yeah.
Is it as good as having a baby?
If it's brand new.
Michelle has said to me, if he didn't have his property that he owns and his job, he says life wouldn't be worth living to him.
Oh my. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, anytime that a possession takes possession, you're possessed.
That's a good line.
Possessions can be anything that gets into our heads that we can't let go. It's a possession. And you can be possessed of your house, your wristwatch, your diamond ring. You ever see any woman say, oh, I didn't take my ring off for 5 years. I'm so attached to it. She's possessed. And without the security in the ego of self, you can be possessed of anything. There are so many issues piling up on a lot of people today. They'd rather think of something outside themselves than to get into themselves and see what they can do to make wherever they are more comfortable, you know.
I'm met a woman who works with Weight Watchers, and she told me that she counsels some of the people who come in there. And she said what they're trying to do is get in an expert on suicide because...
How to commit it neatly?
No, because she feels that she can't talk to people about suicide. She's not qualified. And I said to her, you are qualified to talk to that overweight woman about anything that you feel you want to talk to her about, or let her just talk to you and you listen.
What is about suicide that in this culture seems so very bad? I think the Japanese have a
word for it.
They have a dignity about it. I think suicide could be dignified. We ought to make it an art. I really do. I mean, does it sound funny?
Yeah.
Does it really? Well, if somebody's tired of living, they make more room for somebody who really...
I can't agree with you on that point, because if I had gone through with it like I wanted to...
You weren't serious about it. You really didn't want to.
Yes, I was. I took every pill in the house.
Why did you want to cut out? Why did you want to cut out?
Because I saw all these inequities in the system and in the world, and I didn't feel I could do anything about it. I wasn't getting anywhere with my book.
Did you think you were responsible for this?
Yes. It was my world, and you were welcome to it.
Yeah, you do have a super inflated ego. You know, how two of us... I don't believe it. That two such perfect specimens could have really... This was
avoided
destined.
each other
This was destined.
for 36 years.
Our marriage, it was made in heaven.
Do you notice that when you and I are talking, we don't yell at each other, we don't scream? You know, when I try to carry on these same conversations with Shell, we can't go for more than a couple of minutes without running into a resentment.
I want to know what you know. That's why I want to hear what you're saying.
All right, so we're really listening to each other. Is the opposite then true, that people are not really listening to each other and they get impatient with each other?
When they talk, they want to say, well, now this is what I know, and you better believe it.
Yeah.
If you're really not interested in hearing, you're going to be getting ready to say something back that you're formulating, so you really don't hear what's coming through.
All right, so we're all throwing our ideas at each other off the top of our heads without looking at the basics.
How do you wake a woman up, though, is the trick of the century, especially if she thinks that she's free, if she thinks that she's chosen the life. When a woman hasn't had any reason to start thinking, she will go through life in that role playing without being shocked out of it. It was very difficult for me to break away. I did it in stages. I did it in excuses. I think this is why I prayed so much. When I was out of the house, they could get whatever they wanted to get, and I wouldn't have to feel guilty. And even today, they sit there and they're getting this stuff together. I have to steel myself to keep from involving myself, because I really don't like to cook. In fact, I'm eating out more, and I feel okay about it because I'm making the chips now. I make money. If I weren't making money, I'm afraid I'd be a terribly mixed up woman. I'd be a very unhappy woman, a bitter woman, because I couldn't, in conscience, do what I'm doing and drain, the money out because of those kids. As long as I feel good enough to be where I am, doing what I'm doing, I'm going to hang in.
Yeah.
And I think this is why we're able to be good for each other, because as I'm talking to you, I'm really not opinionated.
See, I've gone through a lot of this in my mind, and I think the best way to work it out is to talk to another person who's at your level,
Right.
who understands without the pressure. Everybody is a book.
Everybody is a book. Everybody is important.
Right, and if you can talk to yourself via tape recorder or whatever and listen to yourself back. You see, it's not enough to talk to other women and then let the conversation go and go back to your house and go do some more dishes or, buy some more groceries. It's being able to hear it back, to be able to reflect
Hear yourself.
on what you are at any given moment involving yourself in.
The best way to see yourself.
That's right.
To hear the strident sounds that used to come out.
In fact, if Jesus Christ had invented the tape recorder,
You wouldn't need Paul, would he?
we wouldn't need.
We'd have had it on tape.